Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to Third Culture Convos. I'm here with your boy Rashed, and today, actually, I was just talking now about this, and I wanted to bring this up. Um, One of the things that I realized as the sort of the World Cup kind of wrapped up, was that the how much of the narrative of this particular World Cup being held in Qatar, the first time it's being held in a Muslim nation, the first time, and how much that fact, um like it's like when I listen to two streams of thought. So stream of thought that comes from like the Muslim world, which are very proud and very happy, and like happy that it was in Qatar, regardless of how it got there,
Hmm.
because it was an opportunity for like the Muslim world to kind of honor the sport and the players and the world, and welcome and like hospitality, and like all of those things that we do, as epitomized by the by Leo Messi's presentation of the Bisht at the end
Hmm.
of the, like, while he was handing the World Cup. Um, and I'm going to be honest, I went down like a rabbit hole of like content, because for some, in the West, okay, in the so-called West, this was like an example of sport washing, and like no good can come of this, and we'd never come back to Qatar again, and it's a horrible place, and it's the worst place in the world. And the fact that they did that to him, and well, actually, probably the thing that I felt insulted by was when they wouldn't call it like a bisht, or like look into the cultural understanding of what this thing is, and like why you would do this, and when do you put someone in this, and yada yada yada. And it was
Hmm.
all like, that putting a little robe on him. I put a funny little robe on him. And the words were very uh sort of, I want to say, Islamophobic, or racist, or whatever word you want to use to describe it. And like, but covered, shrouded in a moral superiority, right? Like it was all like, look at those dirty, like it's more of the same of, look at those dirty Arabs, like look at those dirty, like they're less than us. um and in that, I feel like it has like united the Muslim world sort of like more than ever, uh because I feel that I see that's what I've seen. And I mean, I don't know if anybody else has seen this, and like, because I like to read articles that are like are racist, like, because I'm like, okay, like what, like
Yeah.
where's the bias here? Like, let me see, is it really bias, is it not? And like, the Independent, I think, published something, and and even in one of the publications, they were saying that, like, even if we criticize the robe, right? Let's say, like, we criticize the robe,
Hmm.
it's just dismissed as Islamophobic. And I was like, and you just like, I can't even criticize the robe, like boohoo, uh,
Yeah.
and so I don't know what like, I like.
Well, the thing is, so I was working during the match, so everything after the match and for the past few days, it's been a blur for me. However, I do follow Najla Saeed on Facebook, who is the daughter of the late great Edward Saeed,
Mhm,
the Palestinian novelist and academic. And so she put a little montage on her Facebook of different article headlines and tweets related to this. And there were three or four of them that were, I just went, whoa. So I'll just read them to you.
yeah.
And so this one, and I'm not going to give you the names of the people who posted it because I don't want to give them that type of clout.
Shade.
Yeah, I'll shade them instead of giving them any kind of support. So the
Yeah.
first one, Qatar obviously wanted to be present in the World Cup trophy pictures, hence put in that black bisht on Messi, but just made for a weird, unnecessary look amid a sea of blue and white sporting shirts. It should be a moment for the players, not the host, grossly indulgent. Okay. Next one. This one. Oh, Lionel Messi has spent his entire career waiting to lift the World Cup. When he gets to do it, all the pics are ruined by somebody making him wear a cape that looks like he's about to have a haircut.
Yeah, I read that one. And
Um,
like two keywords there.
yeah,
Making him,
right.
yeah, making him and
Yeah.
and the cape and the like the
Mm,
disdain, right?
yes.
It's ugh. It's
Um,
so ugh.
Another one. I bet Mbappe is delighted he managed to swerve the weird mesh cloak with gold trim. Okay.
I'm
This
sure
one,
he's I'm sure he's delighted. Yes. I
yeah,
like
I'm sure.
Mbappe's face was the face of a dude that was delighted.
Yeah. Just that image of him sitting dejected on the bench with his legs sprawled
La
out
la
halfway
la.
down the chair. Like,
And
yeah,
let me
delighted.
just react to that as well because I got to react to each one of these things. And to that
Okay.
as well is that like you know it's like willful blindness because you
Mm,
had like what I saw was Macron trying to insert himself
mm,
in Mbappe's face as the like you know the big brother, the father figure, the like it's gonna be okay and it's all right. You did a great job. Like everywhere, he was everywhere. When they were getting the world, and in both times Mbappe was like, but everything about Mbappe's body language was like, okay, you're here for the photo op. All right.
mm.
Okay. And like, you
Yeah,
know,
let's
that's
just do it.
Macron. Like Macron's the photo op guy, right? Like he's like, oh, sweet photo. I can be the like the consoler in chief now, the
Mm,
prime consoler. And I can console Mbappe. And Mbappe was not like look, but that face they didn't see, right? Like
yeah,
because it was Macron. Okay,
right.
sorry. Go ahead.
The last one. Imagine waiting your entire career to win the World Cup and a billionaire makes you wear a Victoria's Secret robe.
Oh, makes you.
Makes you wear a
Yeah.
Victoria's Secret robe.
Yeah. Like the I immediately started to jump into like other and you know quickly like on the Muslimosphere, let's say
Mm-hmm.
the
Yes.
Islamosphere, they shared the picture of I think it was Pele wearing the sombrero. So Pele, like when he
Oh.
wins the World Cup, they give him a sombrero in Mexico, and he wears a sombrero, and he's like celebrating wearing the sombrero, and it's you know
Mm-hmm.
it's an image, right? It's an image from then, um, and like even in calling it like this is like the greatest moment of all time and like the greatest picture of all time and all that stuff and that like the Qataris inserting themselves in the greatest picture of all time that that like a part of me was also like I thought you guys were boycotting the World Cup. Like I thought you
Right.
guys were so upset about it and you were like and now it's like the greatest picture of all time and everybody's watching
Mm-hmm.
it like now it's the Ali like the hypocrisy and the disdain and this is what's probably like it hurts actually because it's the same they do this all the like the, this is a big like trope with like Muslims like that the West like this is fuel to the fire right of
Mm-hmm.
this West East divide this West Muslim divide that's the like the fuel where they're like they say this stuff
Mm-hmm.
the West and they don't like they talk about human rights and they talk about acceptance and they talk about tolerance and they use a lot of grand moral statements uh, but then when it comes to actual tolerance and acceptance and of us like as Muslims um no we're the Orientals we're the others we're the like everything we do is not like enough it's like you're not there yet like you're not on our level yet um
Yeah,
which
because
leads to a counter
you're still
yeah
trying to hold on to um these old ideologies and these old practices and rituals that are not relevant to the West.
yeah
So now that if you're in the West and you want to live in the West, you have to get rid of these things. So France is one of the biggest examples of their constant fight against the hijab.
yeah
Yeah, it's always
it's great like it's so clear to me that's why I'm always like
it's always we're so much more advanced than these other parts of the world because we've broken the shackles of these medieval feudal type of
yeah
practices.
we care about women we care
Yeah.
about poor people we care about like we care about immigrants. Well, not really, but like only
Yeah,
when
well,
they can be on the team and they can help us win games.
well, yeah, like 3/4 of the French national team was of like
I think it's
people
even
of
more.
African origin.
It's even more. There was only three people that aren't of African origin out of the 26.
Like just thinking about the starting lineup for France, you would have had Theo
There's an image of it.
Hernandez.
Like I saw an image of
Yeah,
it. It's
like
like
Hernandez, Rabiot,
no, not
Griezmann.
Hernandez, not Hernandez. It's Hernandez, man.
No, but I mean like in terms of someone who's not like super dark skinned,
Oh
like
yeah. But
Opakamo
he's
or
still
Konate
Hernandez.
or
Like he
some. But okay,
Hernandez,
fine, I get
the
it.
great French
Fine,
name that is Hernandez.
fine. Rabiot and Griezmann.
Rabiot, Griezmann,
And
and
Lloris.
Loris. That's it.
Yeah,
And Giroud.
and Giroud. Yeah,
Yeah.
obviously. How can we forget
Actually,
about
I
him?
think actually Griezmann is from somewhere else too. I actually think Griezmann is not.
Griezmann, he's from obviously his last name is German, but he's from like the Alsace region of
Okay.
France. So
Yeah.
like he has German origins, but like on the French side, and like a lot of those people just became French just because.
Okay. Okay.
But like he would have German origins from that
Well,
part of France.
I mean, it was just. I think that's probably sort of one of my big takeaways, I guess, from this World Cup is that it had sort of brought to the fore that like I mean I not that I thought it was done and dusted, but like having been living here for such a long time in terms of like being in Canada, and you see like you see what like you could be sitting in two different like settings and you'll get a totally different sort of conversation about the exact same thing.
Absolutely.
So when I saw him wearing initially when I saw him wearing the like them wearing the Bisht, like a part of me was like, oh, that's awesome. I was like, oh, that's like that's that's honoring. That's like that thing is really expensive. Like I was like, you see the gold thread on it? That's actual gold thread. Like that's actual gold. Like that's and gold thread is hard to like do. Like this is an honor.
Yeah, they don't cheap out on that type of stuff.
Yeah. And he totally could have and Messi totally could have taken it off before he went to like hold it up, but didn't. And I mean he did take it off after, right? Because he was just walking around. But that's also where and like listen, like did you see Salt Bay?
Oh my God, what the hell is wrong with this guy?
Man,
why was he
was
even
like
on the
icky.
pitch in the first place?
It was icky.
Yeah, I just watched the video like an hour ago and I'm like, what is this?
It was icky. It was like Macron. It's icky. Like now there's a certain, I mean, look, like Elon Musk went to the World Cup, right? Like suddenly, like he just flew in to watch the game. And I didn't like, in the like the feed of the game, he did like there wasn't a focus on him. Like they didn't show him. And apparently Zidane obviously was invited to go with Macron and like Pogba and like thing. And Zidane refused. And yeah.
Didn't Pogba originally refuse as well? Then he ended up going.
I think he ended up, because he ended up going when I don't know, like I guess there was a flight or something. I don't know, but the reason I think Zidane stated that he wasn't going to go was that he wasn't going because he didn't want to upstage the players, like he didn't want to, which seemed like I mean that may or may not be true, right? Like your stated reason may be different from your actual reason, similar to, and I think that's sort of a narrative that now exists at the end of a major success and a failure, or like for two teams. But then that's where they all come out, like I want to say, they all come out of the woodwork, right? So you got Macron trying to get his photo op with Mbappe. You got Salt Bay trying to get his photo op with Messi. You got even the Emir putting the Bisht, right? Like you can't discount also that it was like on the one hand it could be, but also hey, yeah, that is nice. Like I would be happy if I was running the show for him to be wearing that in like in an iconic picture. Like I'd be happy about that.
I mean there is some truth to the criticism. Obviously, yes. We can't deny the fact that
it can be. It can be. Like it's definitely in the realm of possibility.
Opportunity. It definitely is, because we know the region and we understand how people in power in this region think.
Well, it can, yeah.
Any opportunity they can have to be in the limelight, they're going to do it. But at the same time, is it really that inappropriate for the host country to have something like this anyway? I mean, isn't there anything in like previous, like in any type of international
Everywhere they
sporting
go,
event,
they'll give you something.
There's always some kind of local gift that's given to people.
Well, one of the things that I noticed about this World Cup that at least in the stands, everybody was wearing like ghutras or like shimars or headdresses, like headwear.
Oh,
right?
The foreigners. Yeah.
Everybody. Yeah. Like everyone like came down, they went down to probably like Souk Waqif, they went down to the souk.
Yeah.
They were like, okay, what do we got? And I imagine if I was a businessman in Qatar, I would have like gotten like stuff for every nation so that they could all go in and like they could come and they buy and you know, I think this is across the board. Like Arabs and Muslims don't see it as appropriation when you dress like us. Like yeah, you know, everything comes with the niyyah, what your motivation is. But in general, we're like, oh yeah, that's awesome. Like we high five the guys that like want to dress like this, right?
Yeah.
It's like, oh yeah,
well,
man,
there's all the images of like people stopping the foreigners on the street who weren't wearing it properly, for example. And like there's the one security guy in the metro station, for example, early on in the World Cup, he was doing that, he was fixing it properly. Like there's so many images and videos of this happening. But there is a difference, right? So like if someone's wearing it and running around like a moron and like saying stupid shit or like acting like an idiot, obviously that's gonna be like, hey, come on, man, don't do that. Yeah. But most of the people that we did,
but mainly it's the acting like an idiot, not wearing
no, that's exactly it.
Yeah. Like even if you weren't wearing it, but you were running around and acting like an idiot, like don't act like an idiot.
Yeah, if you're running around like an idiot, you're being an idiot.
Like the problem is the idiot part, not what you're wearing.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, and I understand it in like, I mean, in like because in the West there's so much of this like I'm insulted or I'm offended on behalf of others. Right. Like, and so like, for example, in like for Halloween, like I think about Halloween and I think about like, you know, appropriating cultural dress, like, and wearing that as a costume. And that like, that's a no amongst the like that's a no in the West, right? Like it's a faux pas. Don't do that. But in this context, like in the context of the World Cup, and it's totally fine. But in the context of like, let's say you know, I mean, I remember when all the costumes were like Arabs as terrorists, right? Like, and that I like I'm not, you know, I didn't enjoy that. Like it just pushed negative stereotypes. But it's similar to like, you know, the hypersexualization of any costume in Halloween, right? Like in Halloween, you got the like. You know,
you have the devil costume where basically it's girls running around in their bra and underwear.
Yeah, it's just like
devil's tail.
yeah. Well, it's everything. It's like police officer, soldier, everything is sexualized, right? Like it's just like highlighting, and that's okay. That's well, and that like from a Muslim perspective or from like the Muslim world, that would be like, oh, okay. So like they'd be like, okay, oh, so that's okay. So you sexualize everything, that's all right. But if he wears a ghutra, that's appropriation and that's cultural appropriation, but it's okay to sexualize everything. And as a naturally sort of a more conservative leaning like population, these things throw themselves up. And I don't necessarily think that it's like a clear cut, like context matters, right? Context matters. And with this, I think context, like, you know, with Messi, with context was putting the Bisht on, like this was it's not like they put a ghutra on him. It's not like they made him change. It's not, and it's like, you know, like it's not, it's and they didn't, nobody makes anyone do anything, right? Like even the language of forcing, like the forcing him to wear it as if he had like he was. Like the language of like, I mean, I use this language with FIFA, right? Like I think FIFA holds the game of soccer hostage, right? Which is very like forceful like language. Like I'm aware of that. But I probably stand behind that statement. But at times I feel like I don't think this is is a force situation, right? I think there's two ways that you can like see it. And even like, one of the sort of the divine qualities is to assume the best niyyah, right? Is to assume the best motivation. Like it's like the quality is to like assume that inside they're meaning right? They're meaning right.
Yeah.
That also has its limit, right? Like, because even Macron, like I could assume that Macron, like, if I was to apply it to both sides, like, and that's what I'm just going through this exercise right now, right? Like trying to apply it to both sides, where I say, okay, you know what, Macron, maybe he really, really just felt so bad for Mbappe. Like maybe he really, really did, and he wanted to get down there. And maybe Salt Bay just really got carried away and really, really wanted a picture with like he was.
And he just
so
wanted
happy
to put a bit of salt on that World Cup trophy.
on the World Cup. But I thought, and like, correct me if I'm wrong, I think, like, my understanding was that nobody was allowed to touch the World Cup unless you were a previous winner or a winner.
That's how I understand it as well.
That's what I understood, right?
And that's why people are like going crazy over him touching it.
Yeah.
Well, not only he was holding it and he kissed it.
Oh yeah, and he was like,
and he was pushing away one of the player's kids' hands. Did you see that?
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, he was pushing away his hands.
It's an infant,
and like it was a joke. Like
it
was a joke. It was like trying to be cute. But it falls deaf. Like when he's trying to, like, you're like, dude, you're so annoying. Like he's like, you're the annoying guy.
Well, not only that, and the way he was doing it, like the way he was pointing at himself and the way he was looking at the person and smiling, like it was so pompous.
Yeah.
And it's just like, dude, this is not your time. Like, fine, okay, you're in Qatar because you're this famous Turkish chef who, as far as I've heard, his products are not that good anyway. And his restaurant's not the greatest to go to. I don't know. People have said it's overpriced. That's I've just read. I've never been. I don't know.
Yeah.
So it's not far-fetched that he would be there, considering the region and how close Turkey is and in relations and all that kind of stuff. But he's not the only famous person from the greater region of the Middle East, the Levant, the Southern Mediterranean. You don't see other people doing the same thing.
Yeah. Well, I think, like, I mean, that's why I brought up like Elon, right? Because Elon was there, but he didn't charge the field, but also Elon doesn't need to. And I think like, and
it's not a part of his character. It's not his thing.
Yeah. Like,
whereas Salt Bay, he's the type of person who wants the attention. He wants.
Well, I mean, and that's the move, right? Like, but even this, maybe he's of the mind that, like, all publicity is good publicity. Like, there's no such thing as bad publicity. Like, I'm down, whatever. If I end up but honestly, I was like, how not distasteful, or like, I don't ever want to, like, you want to congratulate. Like, I was happy that Messi won the World Cup. I was congratulatory. I felt very happy that he did. I was like, oh, okay. I wanted like them to win as compared to France. I didn't want a back-to-back winner. I didn't think Mbappe needed any more reason to be arrogant. I think he's already like on cloud nine. Like when it comes to, like, I
mean, he's done so much already, and he's only 23 years old,
and he's a baller. Like, he's a baller, and it's similar to the feelings that I had or have or may have with Cristiano Ronaldo, where it's like yes, you're arrogant. And I would much prefer if you were humble, but a part of your like package is to be arrogant. Like a part of your like how else are you do this unless, like, how else would you do this, right? And so I get it, and right, and if you're always trying to be the best, you want to win everything. It definitely takes you to the top of industries and the top of like fields, like that competitiveness, that hyper competitiveness. Yeah, I'm not like that. Like, like I could probably use some of that in my life. But we always, and with Messi was so associated with like humility. Messi's associated with, like,
you've never once heard someone criticize him for being too pompous, or
which makes him so likable, like, which makes him so popular.
He's this small little guy. Short people like me are like, oh, look at Messi, we're short, we can do stuff.
We can do it too, right?
We're all hobbits, yay. He's a 1 foot wonder. He's only left-footed and all, but whatever. I mean, that left foot's pretty damn amazing. Like, yeah. Let's get real. You're gonna get nothing but the left foot the entire time, but you still can't stop it.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing. Like, even he can't even run anymore, and he's still like he it felt like he had. I mean, I was even thinking about the contrasting fortunes of like Messi and
Right.
Ronaldo. I read somewhere that like it feels like this is it. Like this is the end of the Ronaldo Messi era. Like it's over now. Like that like now we're in the new age, right? Like now it's the Mbappes and like we'll see who his.
I mean, I'm kind of hoping that Nunez ends up being that counterpoint, but whatever.
You can hope.
We'll see.
Well, we'll
We'll
see because I mean, there's no. It's crazy that you score a hat trick in the final and you still don't win.
It's freaking insane.
Yeah.
Because like I'm so here my whole thing about the whole final was that I'm working and I'm like, fine, whatever. I'm flying all day. I'm gonna miss it. And at first I'm like, well, when I finally get to the hotel, I'll try and find a replay of the match so I can actually watch it. And then I keep on getting these messages like when it got to 2-0 and like it's over. And I'm like, yeah, okay, fine. I'm not missing all that much. And then I do a flight, which is pretty quick. And then I land and I turn my phone on and my phone's exploding and everyone's like, what the hell? And what a goal. And I'm like, what goal? Is it 5-0 Argentina? And I was like, no, it's 2-2. It's like, what the hell happened? Like, how did this, what happened? And, yeah, no, it was, and then the fact that you score a bloody hat trick in a World Cup final and you're 23 years old.
Yeah.
And then on top of that,
you've already won it.
Scoring, and I'll tell you, you end up scoring in the penalty kicks too.
He's made of something like he's got a very fine edge to him. Like it's
and that goes back to what you're saying, the arrogant, like for him, you have to imagine. So, okay, fine. So he went to Clairefontaine to the institute in France for football development and everything. And he's not the only one who's gone through this academy program. And he's not the only one who would be a visible minority going through this program. But even still, with all the different people that have gone through the French ranks as visible minorities of African origin, for example, they still have an uphill battle to climb, despite the fact that many of the players in recent French history have been of that type of background. You still have to prove yourself extra more than the regular white French guy.
Yeah.
So how else you have no choice but to develop this arrogance. Like if you don't, you're not going to get through the academy. You're not going to develop as expected. It's
like a grit or a resilience. Right. Exactly. Like other people could can see it as arrogance from the outside.
Right.
But it's, especially, and I think it's like, once they share their stories and once you hear their stories, they'll share I don't know Mbappe's story, but I'm sure he shares it. It's in French and I don't understand. But like, there's no, it's not a, like the discrimination in France against people of like, African, Middle Eastern origin is a thing, right? Like it's not like I don't think it's hidden, right? Like it's not something that they're like, okay, like it's commonly known. And so through that, you have to kind of overcome that, because it's very easy for you to say, oh, because they all hate me, then like, you know what, maybe for you to internalize that talk, like, yeah, I'm not going to make it. I'm not. And so you have to kind of be you have to be the type of person that like uses your own inner voice to drive you, and like, your own supports, and not theirs, right? Like not use your own support, and that definitely, like, and if you make it, oh boy, you're arrogant, right? Like
I don't know how you won't be, to be honest with you.
How's it not? Like, of course you are. And so I can't, even though I dislike it, like I dislike it now, right? Like even though like he was insane, and he's already won a World Cup and he's crazy. I still don't want him to win the Champions League with PSG, right? Like I still I don't want PSG to win, but he's insane and he is the edge that'll make it so that they do win. And if he does end up having, like, where did Cristiano Ronaldo get like a lot of respect? I think it came at near the tail end of the career, when like when you've collected all the trophies, when you've gotten all the the awards, where like there's no man this and you keep doing it. It's not like you're not a one-hit wonder. You keep going, like, and longevity in a career. Respect, man, because that's a lot of sacrifice.
For me,
it's a lot of sacrifice.
When it comes to Ronaldo, for me, I didn't like him for a long time because of the arrogance that he had on the pitch, off the pitch. He's a standoffish type of person. He's like, but then you start hearing about his personal story, and whatever, personal stories are personal stories. But then I started hearing about what he does outside of football and what he's done outside of football in terms of charities, and a whole bunch of his money goes to charities of various types. And a lot of people who support Palestinian causes, who didn't know at first that he actually supports Palestinian causes quite a bit, then you start to rethink, oh, well, okay, fine, I get it. On the pitch, he does these certain things, but off the pitch, he's not that bad of a person. Like, he sounds like an individual who you probably wouldn't mind knowing on a superficial level, just as a human being. And that's where my perspective of him started to change.
Well, every time you got a driven, like, I mean, everyone, like, if you look at your friend group, right? Look at people around you, right? And the people that you associate with, this is like one of the, this piece, like, show me your friends and I'll show you who you are, right? Like, and that's like, I remember even when we were, like, when it's marriage and stuff, right? Like, they tell they tell like women, and I'm sure they should probably tell men as well, but like, see how he is with his friends.
Right.
Like, who are his friends, right? Because he's probably most like his friends. And so, like, because you become like the 5 people that you spend the most time with, right? Like, isn't that the thing? And so you look, and if you're like, okay, this guy's super ambitious, like, never say die, like, like, never quit, right? Like, that's admirable, right? Like, that's a quality that, like, because especially when it's so easy to give up and it's so easy to quit, and there's so much that, like, tells you that it's okay to be a loser, right? Like, it's like, like, it's okay, be a loser, right? Like, Rashed, we talk about this a lot, man. Like,
yeah, we do. Yeah, I'm okay. I'm fine with being a loser. I'm perfectly okay with it. My friendship circle in Vancouver is incredibly tiny. I'm fine with being a loser. Self-deprecating humor, perfectly fine with me. You know what? If you feel like you're a loser and you don't want to be around a lot of people in any given moment, that's perfectly fine.
What? That's not referring to.
You find a lot of strength in that, I'll tell you that.
I mean,
much.
like, let's say you had like your crew, if your crew was like, you Ronaldo, and like, and it was right, like, let's see. I mean, people that make it to the tips and the tops, right? Like, even if Elon, right? Like, if it was like, I mean, if Elon, I don't know if he has a lot of friends, man. I think it's like tough for him. I don't know
about Elon. I can't imagine knowing that person in real life.
Well, and then here's some crazy. Okay, so like at the same time, Elon does a Twitter like poll saying that he's not like I will abide by these rules. Should I? And I think words matter. He said should, not will or can. He said should. Should I step down as CEO or not be CEO or whatever?
I saw something about that in passing. I didn't really pay much attention to it.
Of Twitter. No, I mean, and like, I think it was like, I heard it was like the most like voted, like it definitely did a lot for Twitter, right? Like, like, also like, very smart man, very smart. Man.
He's not an idiot. He's completely.
He's not.
Yeah,
no, he's
exactly
definitely not stupid. And so he does that. And welcome to the show, guys. We just got
MJ's in the house.
Majid, we were just talking about your friends and who you keep in your circle and if they're losers or not.
Yeah. And I said it's okay to be a loser, accept the loserness. It's all good.
And so, speaking of losers, we were just enjoined by Majid.
Oh man.
we're moving on from like World Cup and Twitters and racism of like the West, how this World Cup made like the West versus the East. Like it was just really clear the side, like the angles that everybody looks at and
Speaking
like
that, seeing that you bring back that recap quickly, and so MJ knows we were talking about a lot of the criticism leading up to the World Cup about Qatar and its human rights record, all that kind of stuff, and then eventually culminating in these different articles that came up about the Bisht and Messi being forced to wear it, all that kind of stuff. I'll tell you what was more cringeworthy than all of that in the first place was, did you guys see Fox Sports panelists wearing the full tobe and everything, the entire getup for the pregame of the final? Okay. And they have on their panel the token Arab guy who's American, and like they're like, how do we look? And he's like, you guys look excellent. It's like, well, it's all you're the one who set us all up with this stuff. And I'm sitting there watching this and I'm like, oh my God, like this is cringe. And then one of the older dudes, I can't remember who they are. One is Alexley Lawless. The other one is, I can't remember. And he's like, you've got everything. You have the head wrap. It's all wrapped up properly. The tobe fits you perfectly. And he's like, important points. You have the pen in the pocket. That's always important to have your pen in the pocket. Your watch, and it's like a fancy bling looking watch.
Oh, they gave him the whole thing.
And you're wearing the sunglasses, even though it's dark right now, but it's okay that you're wearing the sunglasses. And I'm like, he took it from being like a traditional type of dress to like bling bling, as in like how the more rich elite in the Gulf would dress with like the certain things showing how rich they are type of thing, right? And I'm like, oh, this is so cringeworthy, man. This is not the whole point of it in the first place. That's not the purpose of wearing.
No quality, like no quality pisses people off. like when you let it shine, right? Like that's the whole, right. Like if you're like, oh, you think we're just steeped in wealth and every person's steeped in wealth. Okay, I'll show you steeped in wealth, man.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
Let me just get my gold thread out. Let me get my.
Because everyone has that, by the way.
Yeah. Everyone walks around and like, yeah.
No, that I saw that and I'm like, this is so cringe, man. This is like, this entire time leading up to it, American media is one of the ones that were completely bashing the whole thing about being in Qatar, and rightfully so. They're I mean, we've watched the FIFA documentary.
Well,
I have
here's
one
my
episode
question,
left.
man.
I have one episode left in that, but I mean,
here's my question though. For in the States, when they do it next World Cup, you think the migrant children will be back with their families yet? The immigrant children, do you think they're gonna find their parents yet, or maybe they'll just like?
I mean,
right?
Yeah.
Like I didn't get this. You just said, Rashed, that rightfully so, because you haven't seen the last episode of FIFA Uncovered, but we all know debt to rights. We all know that FIFA is guilty as sin, right? We don't need this isn't a court of law. It's a court of public opinion. And my opinion is they're obviously, and they're rubbing our faces in it. And the further proof of that is the fact that the current world leader of the West, Macron, is sitting and holding hands with Infantino in the semifinal and final. They are literally rubbing their faces in how, like, do what you want. We know, you guys know he's a corrupt person. We're still going to hang out with him. We're going to have our video taken with him. Do what you want.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, like,
what you gonna do about it? Literally, the court, the European Commission, like when they just sided against. They're gonna appeal it, but they sided against the like Super League. They just did because they were like, no, it's not a monopoly or something. I didn't look into it.
It is like, they like, it is a monopoly, and because it's a monopoly, we can't open it, even though FIFA thingy is also. Man,
okay. So like I think this World Cup, particularly with the West and the East and the like, I don't think it's resolved. I think it made very, like, unfortunately, very clear the issues that that happened. But I want to move on. I want to move on to even timing, right? Like I want to move on to Elon and the Twitter poll, and like this like running this company by Twitter poll, and like I just one of the things like the last major Twitter poll, and he's doing it like the slick and fast. But the last Twitter poll that he did, I think, was no, so he banned all the journalists for doxing, right?
Mhm.
And like journalists, not journalists, and then all of the news and the governments were like, and governments or whatever were like, oh, Twitter banning journalists and like they couldn't handle it. They jumped right on it. And then I was like, oh, dude, but like, and then I like looked into it and I was like, oh, I know why he reacted emotionally, which he did do to his detriment. He reacted emotionally because he apparently his car, one of his cars or something, his kids were in it. And a journalist like tipped off where his kids were and he wasn't there with them. Or somebody had tipped off, and so and like it scared his children or something. It scared some of his kids, and like in the thing, because this is a security issue. It's actually I think it's illegal to do this, like to be like, oh yeah, that's where that guy is if you want to talk to him. Like this is where his home is if you want to visit him. Like it's like fishing, right? Like it's not allowed. But that is conveniently removed from the story in terms of like, personal safety. And even though he reacted emotionally, I feel like he totally reacted like, oh no, like fuck these guys, like done, you're out of Twitter. And then later changed the move a little bit after, which also credit to him, like to flip flop. But now with this Twitter, with the Twitter poll, I don't even know what's going on anymore. Like is he actually now like, it said should, not will or can or like, but should I step down? But even if he obviously was going to step down as CEO of Twitter because he's the CEO of like 7 other companies, and it's easy to like put like once you like let's say straighten the ship, right? You
straighten it the way you want it to be straightened.
And then you put somebody, you straighten the ship the way you want to straighten. Then you put somebody who answers to you in charge because you're the owner. You put somebody in charge of you, and then they run the show, and then and they have a lot of power, and that of course you were gonna do that. Like even in doing the poll, right? Like of course. This was gonna happen, right? Like, and I don't know what your workload is. Like, I can't weigh in on whether you should. The HR in me is like, well, what's your workload like? Like, do you think you can continue in this job? There's a lot. This opens up a lot more questions than like whether I think you should like be CEO or not. And so I don't know what's going on, and like just the shock factor of it. It's. This is what I.
It sounds like
love.
Elon Musk and Kanye are twins.
Well, and he came up a lot when it came to this.
Yeah. Like it's like they're brothers from different mothers. Like it's weird thing going on here. Like the way it's. So we asked it before: is Kanye doing what he does for the limelight, for the spotlight, to continue to be relevant, quote unquote, to be noticed? And is Elon doing the same thing? Because Elon's a weird guy because he likes to be in the background, but then he does stuff on purpose, it seems, to like be talked about all over again. Well, so I don't know. Like is it a cry for attention again?
When does he like being in the background? This new Elon, since he's been announced like 3 years before becoming the quote unquote richest person, I feel he had already begun his antics. And even historically, he did come in Iron Man 1, which is like the first phase 1 of Marvel movie as Elon Musk. I just want to I don't think he was ever interested
he's not shy.
In fact, the nerd learned how to come up to the camera finally, because we've all seen that. Like, have you seen that PayPal picture, like the before and after becoming rich? Like the one, the photo he tried to delete off the internet. Like I do, like the loser part is definitely there. Like I do think he was all like, I don't know. I think the cash has given him a newfound freedom to not pretend he's not a loser. Is that fair to say?
Yes. Yeah. I just feel like when I say that he doesn't seek out the limelight in a sense that I think what it comes down to, there's not much of an arrogance about him. So he's not necessarily dislikable as an individual. And I think that probably skews my opinion as to what he's seeking in terms of publicity.
I personally disagree. I don't find him charismatic at all. I don't see what the big deal about him at all is. In fact, if you go on like Reddit and you check out Tesla, the new complaint for Teslas is their build quality.
Yeah.
Like the actual people are taking videos of their cars and they're showing random things like paint chips and bad glue jobs for the doors and different parts of the car, the build quality. They're saying that this is not up to par. And just in terms of build quality, it's very reminiscent of DeLorean complaints that like, sure, the car might look nice, but the actual car, like the car might look nice on the screen, but the car I have in my garage is not that one.
Yeah.
Also, it might lock me in it and I can't get out of it.
It's like it's like McDonald's, man. Like the picture of the burger at McDonald's. You see this thing and you open it, you're like, does this look like what?
The Wish.com, what I have in my hand, Wish.com, and like what I want. What I want Santa to bring me.
Wish.com. Oh my God, those Wish.com memes freaking kill me.
Even Santa's having a tough economic year, yo. He has to order from Wish.com.
They're not even elves building his toys. Jeez, it's a bunch of Oompa Loompas.
Oompa Loompas, the minority candidates. We can't afford white.
He's all.
White. You guys can't hear. I'm sorry. I am still sick and like I was late because apparently I still needed to sleep. So like just my coughs. Like,
oh, you slept.
When your body needs to sleep, your body sleeps, man. Sometimes you can't control it.
So yeah, Elon Musk, and I don't know how do you buy a company and sell a company and choose CEO and this?
Man, I think once you have unlimited money, I think it all turns into a game.
Majnoon, you
just play around. You play like you just and I mean I heard actually like tying it to Kanye. One of the things like I heard someone say this about Kanye is that like Kanye's move, what he was really good at is like, you know, picking and choosing and slicing and cutting, you know, when it came to music, and like he would like, you know, pick, sample, like in a way and see things that other people and see connections and stuff that other people don't see. That's like his genius is in his music is in being able to sample proper in a way that's proper. And with when it comes to like what he's doing now is he's doing the same thing where he's like picking and sampling from like what others say and like people around him say. And it's not like, you know, in terms of his like, let's call it his political career. Like, right, like because Kanye is aiming for something like that. So, you know, in picking and cutting and deciding and using the same method with like words and ideas than that he used with music, and that's his like, and it's not you know, it's obviously not working. Like it obviously is not. It's like, or like you could think it's working or not. It depends on how many people are like they're gonna go to the polls that they'll run on Twitter, because that's where polls happen now. And with, I think even with Elon, right? Like it's that once you get this like obscene wealth, and you see this all over the place, everybody that has obscene wealth, they start to like mess around and play. And I think why I'm still very aware of all the negative press that Elon gets. And I, you know, in my crazy believe that like if the press is negative, then you're making the media moguls and the powers that be mad, because then they won't give you anything, right? Like, so like everything you do is going to be wrong. Similar to how like the Qatar World Cup, like there's no, like there is no silver lining, according to, like there is no, this was a great tournament, this was, you know, they put it together, that like there isn't any of that. There is only the negative, because that pushes your agenda in terms of like what it is that you want to say. And I think with Elon, there's a lot of negative, like there's a lot of negative from mainstream media. And so I think that even in his playing, he's like powerful enough to piss off the wrong people and see if he can get away with it. And I think he's just like playing. Like I think it's like, what's the worst that can happen, right? I think he's in that realm.
I want to go. I'm curious. So I mean, the World Cup is still the big topic. I'm curious as to how the media in South America, for example, was portraying this entire World Cup, because their entire starting point is completely different than the American or general Western starting point.
The Latin world sees it differently.
Yeah.
When I was my last job in the US, there was a Brazilian woman who, like, straight from Brazil kind of thing. She just landed in the US 2 years ago, and she was already like 2 years ago, she was hyped for the World Cup. And I was like, oh, but it's in Qatar. She's like, so what? Like, I don't care. Football. Like, they really, and she was like, that's just an anecdote, but they really are not concerned with, Yani, the game is the game. I don't know what we're talking about, guys. We're like, I'm trying to talk about football, and you keep trying to talk about something else. I don't want to talk this serious. A lot of their attitude was just get on with the game. I don't know what we're talking about. A lot of it is a weird, like, they're almost scared that look, they're Muslim. We don't want to get into it. Like, it is a lot of that. Like, we don't want to like piss them off. But I appreciate that versus like knowing it, because by the way, guys, it's stunning. It is Rashed. I think when I joined, you were mentioning because we live in an increasingly global world and unprecedented circumstances, and we're closer than ever, I can watch the BBC coverage of the same event and the Fox Sports coverage at the same time and be able to compare, literally apples for apples comparison between the two presentations, right?
Yeah.
What are they talking about? What are they analyzing? How good is the analysis? La, la, la. And just in terms of the event, the US-Iran match on Fox Sports was hyped. Alexi Lawless, of all people, is talking about the team represent something far greater than a football. Like, why are you guys politicizing this?
So
It's
American. So American.
guys.
That.
And that too, you're beating on a beaten team. Like you're not beating on giants. It's not like
man, it's freedom against the world, baby. It's freedom against the world.
And it was for me. I watched it on streams. I saw the British stream. I saw the BN stream. I saw the Canadian TSN stream. I saw 4 different streams,
which was
during
brutal.
The World Cup.
Brutal on TSN.
Oh man,
it was so bad.
Don't get me started on Canadian media. American media, at least it's too exciting. Canadian media, they love their too boring presentation value.
God. So because I went through so many different things, and I did stumble. I can't remember where I saw this, but I stumbled across what the reaction in Argentina was about the Bisht. And the general consensus that I read was that they didn't see it as an offense at all. They're like, oh, that's cool. Like, they understood the honor related to it. But I think the biggest difference with South America in general is that they've had more exposure with Arab immigrants in general for longer than the United States, for example, in terms of how the Arab immigrants interact in the different societies, in the different countries in South America. A lot of these countries we're talking about some of them had 2 or 3 different presidents or prime ministers of like Lebanese origin, for example. So they've had these type of immigrants in the spotlight for multiple generations. So there isn't that real stigma that is related to like Muslims and Arabs and immigrants as has been attached to these immigrants in the United States, for example.
yeah, and I feel like even with like let's say Latin America, right? Like we're the like we're brown brothers, right? Like we're the like we can relate in the sense that we're not like we're not the like the white, like we're not white, we're not the power, we're not America, we're not France, we're not like we're like, you know, in the States they got Mexicans, and in this they got this, and then here they got this. Like there we and actually I was like reading and there was a lot of people like I mean this was even in a take that it was a takedown like articles that the independent article I was telling you about, where they were like it was just Mexicans and Argentinians that went to the World Cup. Like they just said that it was only Mexicans and Argentinians. That's why all the stadiums were empty, because only Mexicans and Argentinians wanted to go. And I was like, oh, well, okay, well, all right. And then, but like, why just Mexicans and Argentinians then, right? Like, why only that? And Brazilians too, but like not as many as Mexicans and Argentinians. And like, why? What is it that like relates us? And like probably seeing through that like that bullshit, right? Like, I mean, I everywhere I've ever gone, right? Like, it's a lot easier for me to like. It's a lot easier for you to get along with, like, you know, the Latino students, right? Like and you can relate to them. You can talk about stuff like when you're being insulted because of something, right? Like, which is basically what the like parts of Western media has done with like the with the Bisht as the example. Like they're insulting us, like our culture, by saying it's like, you know, a Victoria's Secret robe, by saying like it's an insult to us, like you fucking assholes. And you know, a Mexican or an Argentinian could totally see that. Like it'd be like, oh yeah, that's totally an insult. Like, you rude motherfucker. Like you're so rude. Get out of here with your like, and then you can easily like, you know, go on a diatribe about this. And so I think that's what relates us, in terms of not, you know, as being part of, let's call us the global South, right? Or the developing world, or whatever it is that they think they need to fix. Like the thing that they all think that needs to be fixed. And we'd probably be in a better world if all of these countries were just gone and all these people were gone, because then it would be sustainable, because then the best would only remain. Right? Like it's so much like that. It's so much like superiority complex that's hidden inside like a moral argument. It's nuts. Like a moral superiority. And it's very, like, we, you know, it's very Hitler of you. Like it's a very like a philosophy that discounts anything that comes from abroad, if it doesn't sit like right with you. So that's why I think like we would relate. Like, and that's why we were supporting Argentina, right? Like that's why, you know, in you would see there was this hilarious videos of Saudis. It's like, so all the Saudis that celebrated the Argentina win are now Argentinian. And then, so the first thing was like, where's Messi? Where's Messi? Where's Messi? That was the thing after the Saudi game. And now
Saudi Arabia's pocket.
And now, now it's like, where's Messi? Here, Messi's here, and they point to the breast pocket. He's in here. He's right here. This is where Messi is, right here. Right, we keep him close. And like, I think, like, I mean, yeah, some people just totally miss that. Like they miss that part. Like, why would, like, they don't understand why, like, why would the Saudis be supporting now the Argentinian? Like, what? Yo, you're on mute.
With regards to at least Americans, you also have to remember they don't like being the other ever, the odd man out ever. In football World Cup, they kind of are the odd man out. You know, like all the groups will be chilling with each other. You'll have the Moroccan talking to the French, talking to the Belgian, talking to the German, talking to the Japanese. And then the American will come and they're going to look at him like, oh, Donald Trump is
it's akin. So in the aviation industry, we have this pun or this joke. You know, how do you know there's a pilot in the room? He'll tell you. And it's kind of like that with Americans. How do you know there's an American in the room? They'll tell you. Like it's It's got to be
You
known.
will hear it. They won't even tell you. You will hear it. They will
You'll
be
just hear
like
it.
someone else, and you will overhear it.
You'll hear it from the hotel lobby.
And there won't be any sort of British people. What is your chances this year? The boys will try good. Hopefully, it's gonna come home. Germans, what is it? The competition is difficult, but we'll try our best. America, do you have a chance of winning? Hell yeah, Christian Pulisic. He's the Ronaldo and Messi of football. We're gonna take it home, guys. We're winning it. And it's like, yo, I wish like Japanese had Moroccans needed that confidence. I wish Moroccans had that.
One of the things that happens also after this World Cup, and that it seems like it's going to happen all the time. It seems like it's not going to go away, but it's like the racial abuse against your immigrant players when they like miss penalties. So like when it happened with England, it happened with France. It's going to and you know, abuse is abuse in the sense that people want to say mean things, like they want to say mean things because the person like missed a penalty. And usually I think the reason why there's so much abuse is due to the like anonymous nature of the internet.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it's because it's so anonymous, so you can say like things like if you said it in front of him, he would smack you, right? Like, and you know not to say it in front of him, like, right?
I mean, the biggest thing that happens is like you'll get banned from the platform, for example. You go into Facebook jail, let's just say.
Yeah, if you're even a real person, right? Like if you're even like
you very well could be. It could be a fake account and whatever. I have like 5 different fake email addresses that I'm using.
Well, speaking of missed penalties, we got to see the difference in reaction with a like apple to apple comparison with England. The players you mentioned in the Euro, when they missed 3 black guys missed their penalties. What, Rashford, Saka, and I think one more.
Sterling, was Sterling one?
Maybe, I forget. There was a third. I forget who it was. But when they missed it, they were subject to all of this open online abuse. When the captain Kane missed it, a Caucasian, good old boy, like
when he pulled the Baggio of
Captain
94,
Britain, England, whatever, he skied it. He didn't even like he wasn't even close, and it was no problem, Ari. You're one of us. You'll get it next time. And the difference in reaction, British people live on Twitter were very, cognizant of the difference, but it was very telling that the establishment media, your like opinion makers or your opinion makers of old, it was very clear to see their reaction one way and their polar opposite reaction for the same event a different way, where the stakes were probably higher, by the way, but really. That was a final, but no.
Yeah, well, I mean, you can hold it. You can, like, and that's what's like. It's that's probably the theme of the episode, is that you can, this double standard that they hold, like that you can literally pick up 2 different articles. I think you know what I just watched? I just watched the Harry and Meghan like Netflix like tell all. Okay,
is it worth it? I was kind of like, do I do it?
I couldn't put it down, man. I couldn't. I didn't watch it because I was like, I wouldn't have watched it. Right. And then my wife was like, okay, like she was watching it, and so I came in, and then I couldn't look away because I was like, oh, this is so juicy. This is so juicy.
Because I've read some brief things about it where it's just like they've completely ruined their image on both sides of the Atlantic now.
Who, Harry and Meghan?
Yeah.
My favorite thing about this, honestly, my favorite thing about it is that I've heard everything. Like I've heard I don't like them. As a result of this, I don't like him. Now I don't like him at all. I've heard, like me, I'm like, oh, like I like him now. like that's cool. Like I'm glad. Like use the nuclear option. like
I guess I'm gonna.
That's
have
what
to
it was.
This to
like
get
to a family like this. And of course, like the media would say, like, because this was funny. Of course, the media would say that like this was horrible, for a few reasons. Number one, it's on Netflix and not on their like stuff, so like it's not sanctioned, it's not like dealt with, so that's the first like thing, that sign. So the second, like this, the second sign is that like they kind of put they take the British media, the tabloids, and they like take them through the mud. They're like, these are animals, these are not like people, like and then the third, and their evidence for it, they present evidence, right? And their evidence is like the treatment of Meghan Markle as a black woman, like a mixed black woman, and how, you know, like literally pulling up like apparently like the way the royals work, it's like you're either in and you're protected, like you're part of the mafia, you're in, or you're out, and then you have no protections. And that's what they were like talking about and reflecting
it
on.
Sounds like FIFA.
Yeah. And reflecting on like on his mom and like how like you know the paparazzi and what that happened did to her, and like, you know, picking clips and stuff from that, and to see the like reflection of their lives, like how, oh wow, like it's crazy. It's crazy.
Talk about the trauma. You two little kids, and you see your mom being destroyed over and over again in the media, and you're like, but she's just my mom. I don't get it. What's going on?
Yeah. And they got kids too, like, right? And the reason why they destroy them is because they're outsiders, and now they're outsiders protection, and they gain like this is what sells papers. I don't know who's buying these damn tabloids, right? Like I don't go pick up these tabloids and stuff. I don't know. Like there's this like apparently like these 7 like tabloids, like 7 companies that are the mafia of this. And
after living in England for a year, I can have an idea of the type of people buying these tabloids.
Okay, they are. And so, and that like money-making machine right there, that money-making machine, that doesn't like, you know, that's literally what we're talking about. And so that's why did I like it, right? Because it's a nuclear option on that type of stuff where you're like, okay, what the man, that's it. We're and like, you know, the brothers aren't talking, and like their relationship's over, and like left for now. And I can even relate to estrangement. I can relate to being a black sheep in a family. I can understand what it feels like to like be like, okay, we're not gonna see things the same way. Like I will see it my way, you will see it your way, and you know, we'll coexist with the fact that we don't see things the same way, and we're not gonna see things the same way. And sometimes that means we can't coexist. And so that that happening in families and stuff. And so a lot of there are so many layers in it. And even though they got paid, like they're paid for this show, right? Like they're paid, they're like Netflix. This is not free. It's not out of the goodness of their heart. Like you know, I don't normally hate on people that like get paid a lot for anything, right? Like if you're able to get someone to give you the money, do it. Like, you're only really hurting the tabloid industry and like paparazzis and like you know, like I'm wondering who's being hurt here, right? Like the legacies.
That's our outsider
Yes.
detached view is who the hell is getting hurt? Like, what difference does it make if they're blowing the whistle on things we already know? Let's be really like, we knew all of this was real time. We knew what's going on, which is why the couple divorced from the family in the first place. But like Piers Morgan, for example, he came out very much. He has a big stick up his ass against Meghan, anyways. And there's a lot of like rumors why. But like he was talking about Harry and Meghan have done unknown harm to the royal family, and they're damaging the royal family, and they're hurting one of this country's primary institutions. So there is I myself asked this question, Waseem, like if I as a butler talk about what the hell happened to me in the palace, how does that change anything? But it does, because it's all true and they're scared of it getting out. There seems to be such a fear factor of the truth in that palace, in the Buckingham Palace, that you have to be kind of skeptical that, man, what are you guys protecting for so hard?
Man, Piers Morgan, man, like this is because you brought him up right now, man. He's like the Salt Bay of this situation.
Right.
Like he's totally Salt Bay. He's like hey,
sprinkle his own little salt on everything.
Oh, I totally need to watch this now.
He's totally Salt Bay.
Speaking of, did we see Salt Bay at the end of the World Cup, or like?
Oh, we talked about it.
We just talked about Salt Bay
and how
like,
cringe
and that guy.
it was, and how ridiculous it was, and how attention seeking it was. We're like, why?
The thing is,
why?
It doesn't matter. He got his selfie. He won. Honestly,
and everyone's talking about it. There's the three of us on this podcast, and we're talking about it.
Well, and I think it's going to go into history because it's going to get forgotten. All those little annoyances are good, like the like being a little annoying little like cockroach. Like it feels like a little cockroach. Like like dude, I'm looking for my mom. Please, like this is not the time. And but he's still going to have the picture up at his restaurant, right? Like it'll be the picture of him and Messi holding the World Cup, and like, you know, people will go to the restaurant and be like, oh wow, look at that picture. Wow. And when Salt Bae comes out, they'll actually think that, like, because you know how we give divinity to objects. And so, oh, he touched the golden statue, right? Like he touched the World Cup, and now he's touching the salt that is touching my steak that I'm eating. So I'm basically just touched the World Cup. Like and now the World Cup powers are inside me. And it's and I mean, and for most people, like majority of people are superficial in the sense that, like, you know, you're on vacation. And so when, like, there'll be a time in your life when you're on vacation, you're down there, like, where we're going to go? Of course, we're going to Salt Bae's restaurant, man. You heard that guy. You've seen that guy before. He's the guy that does the thing with the hand, He's brilliant. He's brilliant in that sense. Like, he's totally brilliant. Like, how many other steak restaurants do you know of in Turkey? Right?
He completely developed a character and a persona. I mean, it's,
Like how many other chefs do you know that are Turkish, right? Like that, like so. In terms of branding, he's a winner. Like he's a winner, definitely.
It's the same with Piers Morgan. He's a winner in terms of branding. He, like, you were talking about how dirty the tabloids are. He was the editor when they were doing the wiretapping scandals with the politicians and the celebrities in England. He still found himself a job. So like Piers Morgan also, I just want to like juxtapose these two because Salt Bae, like Piers Morgan is the British Salt Bae in his own way. He's very smart at his job. He knows which buttons to press for how long to press them. He didn't know that in America. He learned that with the gun control. He wanted to be the guy. And I admire that. I really do admire Piers Morgan during his time in America because he really did think. Like, he took an outsider. He took a very outsider approach to the gun problem in America that, like, yo, I don't know what you guys are talking about. Just ban them. And he tried for years on his CNN show to, like, night in, night out that, guys, America, I want to be the journalist, but they're not having it. Bang, bang.
Well, that you mentioned outsider brings me back to Latin America. Okay. And what in the United States, for example, populations that are looked at as outsiders. El Salvador, for example, the president, Nayib Bukele, this guy has reduced the crime rate in El Salvador by 50% during his tenure. And he's doing it by like arresting all these gang members and these mafia members. And he has like huge support amongst the El Salvadorian population. Like he's doing things that would do it. I know, but the thing is that if someone did this in the United States, if someone did this in the United States as president, for example, just imagine the type of tropes that would be said about them. Oh, he's because his family's Palestinian Christian, and his father previously was a president as well of El Salvador. So he comes from a history of politicians. But the funny thing, to his father, like Palestinian Christian, whatever, but then his father ended up converting to Islam and became an imam. It's like, what the hell? Later in his life, this is a very interesting story. But like, if this was someone as the president of the United States doing this, imagine the terrorist tropes. Oh, well, it's in his genes. It's in his nature to do this kind of stuff, right? Yeah. But he's been turning El Salvador into one of the safest countries in Latin America. Like it's like there's the one dichotomy right there again about how these immigrant populations are perceived in Latin America, South America, etc. Like it could easily be the outsider in the United States and looked upon very negatively if someone did some. I mean, Obama barely did anything, and like hear all the crap that he went.
But even the way I think, even with crime, because crime is actually like, I mean, I think probably
it's a big deal in that part of the world, obviously.
Well, no, but also, I mean, like even. Like so Toronto's like this is what's actually scary about Toronto is what's gone up now is like random crime. and random
Yes, I've heard
crime.
about this.
Yeah, it's like, you'll be standing on the subway, like on the platform, and then somebody is like will like stab you with a needle.
Yeah,
And
it's like things that's happened in London for such a long time.
Yeah,
remember the London attacks, the random acid thrown in people's faces for a while?
Yeah.
And the knives and the shanks and stuff. Yeah.
And so, and like, what's the city supposed to do in a situation? Like, what is like you're supposed to do in this situation? Like, I mean, you're supposed to get these people off like, what are you supposed to do? You're supposed to make this so that this doesn't happen, because nothing creates more fear and makes more hatred and more anger than like you're afraid to go outside because you're gonna get stabbed. And now, why is this the case? Well, why is the case? Because you had like a couple of years of like lockdowns, and so whatever mental health issues, even if you had it like undercover, that's it. You lost your mind. So now you lost your mind. You have no services for all these people,
and you lost your job.
You don't, and you don't like. You have this like this weird compassion. Like you see it as compassionate to not do anything with them. So you think that like, okay, let's leave them on the street, and they just leave them on the street, and they like it's the same, similar to the same kind of weird compassion that they had for like I'll bring this up too, with the workers, the migrant workers that were building in like Qatar. It's like these are people that are in poverty in their countries, that like, what other option? You don't want them to come to yours. Like they need to get out of poverty, right? Like, and you don't want them to come to your country. You don't. So like, and you hate on the country that does bring them because of the conditions.
And you won't let their home countries build themselves. Whenever their home countries get a strong, independent leader who wants to build the country,
you undermine them.
You guys do a conspiracy.
You do
I'll
a
say it
coup.
openly.
You do a coup. Like these things, like so it's very easy to be like, oh, like to come at it from an idea that you are morally superior and compassionate with these people, but at the same time, like that's too easy, because now you have a situation where it's unsafe, and people like that are also like sort of victims of addiction, right, or victims of this or victims of that or victims of poor mental health or whatever. They have no access to help. They literally pick them up. If they grab them, they just put them back on the streets again later, right? Because like, what are you gonna do with them, right? And so what are you proposing to do? It's similar to like the Nepali worker, right? Like if you take away the construction projects in the Middle East, right? The big construction projects, you take them away. You say, oh no, or you got to do them with like no one's saying taking them away, right? They're saying like, you got to improve the conditions. Okay, fine, improve the conditions. Sure, okay, great. But you're like, that's where they're going to work. And so you do actually have a deeper problem, because it's easy for you to go to Nepal and say like, oh, like all these poor, like, right? Like, what's your solution? What's your solution to poverty in Nepal? All right. Like what?
But also, what labor rights are we talking about? If we look at Twitter, one of the most well-known companies in the West, anywhere in the West, the new CEO came in and he just told the workers, you better start sleeping here. You better get used to 12-hour work weeks. I don't want anyone taking a break. This is well documented, well known. So where did the labor rights come in there? Like, does anyone get what I'm saying? Or
well, yeah.
Well, bring up?
But then you also mentioned a few minutes ago the whole coup thing. So like the conspiracy, you know, when Pakistan is an example of that, it's happened how many, like most recently.
Just this year.
But then all this criticism going into the World Cup of Qatar. There's always criticism of even the UAE has criticism, because again, Dubai is built on the back of migrant workers. There's all this criticism of Saudi Arabia for women's rights, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. However, we're talking about countries that are untouchable for a coup. They won't do it because they have all of their economic relationships with these countries, and they need the oil and then the natural gas and all that kind of stuff. But a country like Pakistan, no, we can't have this because there's no benefit from Pakistan. They're not giving us anything.
Or the opposite, the benefit of this country is instability, kind of like Haiti. Like we don't want stable.
Yeah, we don't want stability. We want it to be unstable, because then that serves our interests more.
2-hour stable partners.
Yeah. That serves our interests more.
Yeah, that's the it serves our
Right.
interest.
So we could say at the expense of getting some ire from some Indian subcontinent listeners, that an unstable Pakistan benefits a stable quote unquote India.
Yeah, absolutely. We're seeing that that's been the Western foreign policy towards
Despite the fact that
Asia.
we see
funny.
India, and we know that there's a lot of
But that
instability in
also
India as
ties,
well.
man, to what literally what I'm talking about is when it comes to white superiority, right? It's like well, we can't have both of you. It's like we can't have two. We can only have
You have
one.
to choose one. We'll choose one with a bigger population.
And like and now
More
we're gonna
GDP.
go over to Asia to the Far East. We can only have one of you guys. Like we can't.
And that only one of them comes into play with India and China more than poor Pakistan. Pakistan is just stuck. Bichara is stuck in the middle. It's actually the counter. With Pakistan becomes the proxy to China. So it's actually we're talking about India, China, and the West can only have one of those. Can only compete with one of those at a time. So we need to align with one of them, and we need to demonize. You guys can figure out who's who.
And then they leave Afghanistan as being the Haiti of the region.
And then you always have an excuse to come in and out, or I don't even know. This Afghanistan, Iraq, the two wars that happened since 2000. I don't even know like what the reasoning was. No one does. That's the beauty of these things. Major events happen in front of us, and khalas, it's cool, no problem, no self-reflection, no self-awareness.
What are you talking? You don't have to go like the wars like we just like so now all the like all the COVID stuff is like coming out, right? Like all of that business. And I don't know about you guys. I don't know what you guys, because I've been looking everywhere for this. So like, my kids are sick. So I have to go get like Tylenol, and there's like a shortage of Tylenol, like kids Tylenol.
There's a shortage of everything. Someone was telling me, I had a passenger recently coming back to Vancouver from Regina. She's like, there's a shortage of like children's cough syrup.
Yeah. Everywhere. Rashed, everywhere. I've been to like every pharmacy in the city, man. And I look for like the basic stuff, and I talk to the pharmacist, and I go in and I talk to the pharmacist. And pharmacist, like who? I literally said, you got any amoxicillin? She's like, no, it's on back order. I'm like, do you know when it's gonna come? She's like, I have no idea. And I said, who's in charge here? And she was like, wait, no, I don't mean you. I mean, who's in charge here? Right? Like this. She's like, she's been a pharmacist for like 20 years. And this is the first time she's ever seen anything like this. There's never been a shortage of this before. And then what you're hearing from like pharmaceuticals, and like literally almost every government, I feel like in charge now has been in charge for 10 years, right? Like at every level of government in Canada, like they've been in charge for 10 years. So it's not like, oh, well, he took a bad situation and like, so I can give him that. He just got the job. No, you've been in charge, right? Okay. And I know in Canada, it's usually brought into the fact that Canada has no like drug making capacity, like they don't make any drugs. And then the other issue with Canada also is that like the labeling requirements. And so like Canada's solution to literally I saw this, man. Canada's solution to the drug shortages is to change the labeling requirements so they don't need to get them in French, so that they can go get them from the States and from Australia. And even though there are shortages there as well. And so then I begin to say, I put my hand up, I say, okay, wait, who makes all these drugs? Can somebody please tell me who makes all these drugs? And then we go and we find out, let me go look at the top of the stock market. Let me go look at the top companies that made super kinds of money over the last few years, selling vaccines, selling things, making claims, working at the speed of science. And when they did all that type of stuff, and now there's a shortage and families are suffering because the basic thing is gone. And this is now the drug. Who's responsible here? Who's accountable? And not one of them says anything. This guy tells me I'm going to remove the labeling requirements. Dude, did you just find out that you might have a shortage of basic things? Because then it makes me scared. You know why? Because then, okay, this is me, I'm not crazy, but I'm not crazy. Then food. Then you're going to go and you'll be like, why is there no more milk? Where's all the milk?
Why is it $8 for a head of cauliflower?
Oh, okay. But because they're going after the cows first. Right? Because the cows cause the methane. So they're going to go after cows, and cows are like are everything. right? Like cows are like they're just as important as chickens. Like you gotta have chickens, you gotta have cows. You got like on a farm, you gotta have chicken, you gotta cows. You don't have chickens, it's not gonna work. You don't have cows, it's not gonna work. You need to have
and then
these
lamb is a luxury.
Yes. And so you're going to take away the cows because that's literally what the European farmers are like protesting against, because the union, the European Union, and like are forcing them to cut their flocks in half. And so now we're going to not only have a shortage of drugs, we're going to have a shortage of milk, we're going to have a shortage of cream, of cheese, of yogurt, of like literally the part of the meat, the part of the food chain that you need. And so what's it going to eat? What are we going to all eat? Cockroaches.
Everyone's gonna become vegetarians, and the vegetarians will be sitting there going, "Come to us, babies."
Just like now, you go to the pharmacy.
People.
No, right now you go to the pharmacy, and you look and you see the shelves are bare. It's not going to be very long until you see in the supermarkets that the shelves are bare, and that's literally what everybody. That's why farmers are protesting, and that's why it isn't covered on the media, because the media is bought and paid for. Where's Pfizer? Where's Pfizer? That's what I'm saying now. Where's Pfizer? Where's Pfizer? And then no, right here in my breast pocket. That's where Pfizer is. Right here.
But the question is, whose breast pocket?
Yeah.
And where is the media in the same breast pocket? That's the crazy part.
Yeah, they're all there.
Oh, kullu.
Yeah. It's the council. It's the council. And then who suffers? People trying, like, I got 3 kids and they all got fevers and I got nothing to give them. I got 3 kids, they're all hungry. I got no glasses of milk. I can't put milk on their cereal.
Then again, there are some governments in the world that are trying to do something about these things. I mean, I think I don't know if MJ was on the show the one time that I mentioned this, but Greece, for example, when I was there recently, every Wednesday they come out with a different product every Wednesday that's on a discounted price. That's like a simple basic necessity. It's regulated by the government. So all the, if it's a medicine, for example, all the pharmacies, or if it's a food, or, basic simple products like socks, for example, every Wednesday, a different product is out at a discounted price to help people. Because again, the Greek economy is as crap as it's ever been. It's better than what it was during austerity, but still, so there are some governments that are trying to do something to help the people. And you would think that a government like Canada's government would be a bit more forth thinking as well and do something similar. But
man, if there's no photo op, they're not doing it. If I can't stand there with bags of milk, if I can't stand there with like a thing of drugs, right? Like it's I feel like it's like they're going to use this as justification that there are too many people. And so then where do you go from here? You go, okay, no more immigrants. We can't have any more immigrants coming into the country. They can just go down to the global south and stay there. Let the Qataris make them work, right? Like they're just not in my backyard, right? Like we have enough as it is. And this idea of scarcity, that there's not enough because there are too many people, is the biggest crock of bullshit, like ever. Because it's not because there's too many people. It's because you literally are cutting off your arms and you're saying, look, now I can't farm. Look, I can't now make food. Look, now I can't make drugs. Literally, what happened to all the profits that these companies have made in the last few years?
They went to the bonuses.
You're out of drugs? Guys, you're out of basic drugs? You forgot how to make basic drugs? You can only work at the cutting edge? Can't make Tylenol anymore?
But if there's a conspiracy related, what's the real benefit?
I don't understand. I don't know.
What do you mean? What's the benefit? I didn't understand.
Like, why would they want there to
So
be a
Waseem is
shortage?
it sounds like to me Waseem is saying that like the shortage is on purpose because they've been doing this for how many freaking years? They know how to make these medicinal products, for example. All of a sudden, why would you all of a sudden be doing this if you're doing it on purpose to have the shortage of these simple basic drugs?
We forecasted demand
is too high.
incorrectly. That's what they said. We forecasted demand incorrectly because of an increase now from before. And I'm like, that's total bullshit. No fucking way. No fucking way.
The answer is always profits. Whatever the question is, the answer with these pharmacy is demand, supply, profits. Like demand, supply is the indirect, the British way. The American way is just money.
I think maybe you hold off, and then when the products go out, the prices go up. You know, one of the things in Ontario, like even on like here's another thing I learned today that was crazy. amoxicillin, like a basic antibiotic. It's like never ran out before. And the liquid form is covered by like health insurance, but the chewables aren't. You know how much chewables are? $40.
For what?
For for the amount that you need, like the
Well,
dose,
like
yeah, like because it's a prescription. It's a prescription medication. So you like a doctor has to tell you how much you need, and they say, okay, you need 25 milligrams every day for like a week. All right. And so here's the thing: you got to finish it. You can't like stop halfway through. It's an antibiotic. Like you got to finish it. And that's antibiotics. And so the only thing, like all the liquids are gone, and the only things are chewables, but chewables aren't covered by the health insurance. And so I go, what? That doesn't make any sense to me, even though they're getting paid for like the liquids too. So like it's just, well, what is that? Oh, okay. And then this is what makes me go like, okay, wealthy, you get health. Like poor, right? Like social service people, like the people that like, like everybody else. Well, there are way too many of you. Like there's way, like, it'd be good. Like what? It'll toughen you up. Like it'll toughen you up, right? Like, yeah. Come on, have a cockroach bar. It's good. Yeah, put some salt on it.
The Belgians have been eating crickets for how long?
Until we run out of salt. Until we run out of salt, and then you even get shit without salt. Actually, sorry guys, this is me.
We got Salt Bay.
Yeah, we got Salt Bay.
Screw it, I'll just go to the Mediterranean
and Salt Bay's smart, man.
myself.
Salt Bay wants to be the 1%, man. He's not going to be in that 99% bullshit. Like he doesn't want any of that shit. Like he wants to be the 1%. So that's why he goes and he stands next to Messi with gold flakes, and he puts that shit on top of his like steaks and stuff.
Moron.
That's why. Because like, look at his clientele. Look who comes to his restaurant, right? Like, look, you saw how big the VIP section was.
We shit on the VIPs, but I would love to be a VIP one day where I can be invited to an event like that.
I yelled at the pharmacist. I feel like the only thing I got to do is become like a crazy like billionaire. Like I have, and to do that, I have to like give up certain things about myself, and then even then like play the philanthropy game, so that like, even because I've made so much money, just like Elon, anybody else, I made so much money that I don't really need all this money, but I could definitely use some good PR. And so I'm just gonna be like, start a foundation.
You can use some good PR. You can also set up yourself for tax evasion by doing that as well.
Yes. That also is very helpful. And so, and you know what I'm going to take on? Malaria, right? Like, you know what I'm going to take on? Like AIDS. That's what I'm going to do. Like they'll like, that'll ingratiate me. That'll make, at least he's doing that with his millions. At least he's doing that with his monopoly. At least okay, now he's a good guy. And then we'll go and we'll bring him, and they'll literally do charts on like, look, population growth, it's so high. If we don't do something about it, it's going to sing. A good way to deal with population growth? Cut off the food supply. That's a good way to deal with population growth if you wanted to cut population.
Or even
I'm just guessing.
We don't even
I'm
know.
just guessing.
We don't even know, because it might even be, hey, I think this is my private suggestion, but I think you guys should privatize your farming system. So stop giving subsidies to farmers and grow it yourself. In fact, not grow it yourself. We will make one big tower. We have all these fancy machines of inside farming, internal. You don't need to have a natural sunlight. We'll grow everything in a tower. Give us the contract and stop paying the farmers.
Yeah. And it paid for by your philanthropy dollars, right? In the guise of protecting the world from itself.
I'm just saying there's there's the direct way, like going right at goal, and then there's the Spanish method of passing 1,000 times before you take one shot on target. And sometimes these guys have all the playbooks. They have all of them. They know which one like to play when, which one to go direct, and which one to do the possession football. So often, again, like they'll give 100 million of their money. 50 million of it goes into the building of a really nice building that they're going to walk into as the CEO of the foundation for the next 30 years. They gave up 100 million, but where did it go spending on? It didn't go to the people they said it would. It just went in the cause, right? And how do you prove
No, you know what they do even? They make the city pay for it. They make the government pay for it. because, and then they'll be like, we'll rent out a part of it to public services for public things. And then that's how you, because that's how you would do it. That's how you make somebody else pay for it, right? Like that's the key to being like that 1% is you make everybody pay for everything. And
the property will be tax-free for the next 40 years. And then when 40 years expires, they're just going to say, you know what, we're leaving. They've got 70, at that point, they've got 1,000 employees. If they leave, that entire area is going to go under. So they've got them by the, you know what?
The
cycle continues. It's like sports teams. The modern sports team is very little different from the Mafia Don. Like, honestly speaking, they've got the city where they want them. And if they don't, they just bounce. There's enough demand. Like we keep being told there's no demand, but there's always a demand out there, it seems, for them to move. At least sports teams, for example. And no politician has challenged the business yet in terms of that. Like, okay, you don't like what we're doing, move. DeSantis is trying that kind of with Disney. But he kind of knows he's going to get his way at some point. Disney's just going to pay him off and say, look, just whatever you want, and campaign donation.
DeSantis, man, he's wild westing it now, man. Like he's got his his and it's crazy. Like the COVID truth. Like he's trying to get to the bottom of COVID, right? With his like councils and stuff, and it's very like now we're gonna get that little warning, but he's been like it's crazy because throughout the whole thing, Florida was always crazy, right? Like Florida is the crazy state, it's the wild state, it's the thing.
Florida man did something crazy again.
Florida's crazy, but now you're like, well. Why does the media always want Florida to look like they're crazy? Why does the story always look like this? Why is it always that Qatar is the evil, like is this the eye of like is Mordor? Like why? Like it's just why? And why is Macron never Mordor? Why is he never like this? Like why is it never this way? Like wake up, people, wake up. like what can I say, man? What can I say?
I want to piggyback off Rashed, Waseem. If folks, please do wake up. But if you do wake up, just be prepared for a transition. It's not a fun time after you're awake.
It sucks. It sucks being waking up, man. Like once you see all this stuff, it's but. Okay, I'm just gonna put a silver lining on these things, man, because I gotta keep it like positive. Like no, because also I feel like you have is the only thing you actually have control over, is how you like see things, is how it's the perspective that you bring to something. So things are what they are. And you always want to see the truth above all else, like the truth above all else, whether you like it or not. This is the truth. Okay, but now what perspective can you bring to it, right? What do you bring? You're in all honesty, your area of control is very small, man. So you can control you can control you could try to control you, but that's where you have the highest bet of actually doing anything and making any change. And then you have your like family, then you have your community, and you can build positivity and beauty and wonderfulness inside that. And that is the world. That is the world. That extends everywhere out. I totally believe it. That like, even though we talk, when we talk about the big topics, I think it's important to know them because it's the truth. I mean, I don't know if it's the truth, allegedly, but where you come in and so that we don't end 2022 on a bad note, so that we can talk about like, regardless of all this, there's a real opportunity for grit and perseverance and resilience, and those hard things make character, build you. You can't build a statue with feathers. You can't chisel out a statue with feathers. You need hard things. And so yes, the world is hard. There's a lot of hard things. There's a lot of things. But you can either look at them as, ow, oh, that hurts. Or you can look at them as, oh, you got more? You got more? Is that all you got? Is that all
I
you
didn't
got?
hear no bell. Randy,
Yeah,
South Park.
yeah,
I didn't hear no bell,
well,
yo.
I heard this. There's nothing that a bully, there's nothing that a fighter like hates more than a person that keeps getting up, that you can't keep down, There's that scene in Rocky, when he gets up, when Creed knocks him out, he thinks it's over, it's done. He stands up, it's over, and then he looks in his face and he sees, oh my God, this guy is not gonna go. And when Rocky stands up and he's like, and that's it, that's the break. It's over. It's over. When you got to be a person that always stands up again. Always. You're gonna get knocked down, but you stand up again. You don't quit. Happy New Year, guys.
Happy New Year. Happy New Year.
Mic drop. Everyone's hearing like my pen going flying and stuff. I'm talking about
yeah. And then here's Rashed sitting here going, I can shit on his parade if I wanted to.
yeah, I know. Shut up. That's why I said no. That's why I said you gotta watch out the losers you hang out with.
I have
You gotta watch out what losers
example.
you hang out with.
I got a great example in how they can just shit on that parade.
That's why we hang out with. Like this is example, everybody.
You ever watch? Has anyone watched Snowpiercer?
Yeah.
Have you guys watched Snowpiercer? No, the show.
Yeah, I saw the first
I've seen the movie. I haven't seen the show.
Watch the show's good too. And just quick anecdote and how I could shit on the parade, but I'm not going to do too much. But I mean, I agree. And in terms of David Diggs's character, why his name is deceiving me now, I can't remember. But yes, he's an example of perseverance. He makes it from the back of the train and back to the front, all that kind of stuff. But he made it to the front on a lie. So remember that.
You're like Rashed. You're like the person that farted and left the room.
Yep.
You're the fart.
Yeah, I left my stamp.
Yeah.
Can I just leave my stamp? I just want to use this 2022 wrap up time to just send a big shout out, respect to the Morocco 2022 World Cup team. You guys were genuinely the third culture team. I've taken note. A lot of your guys, captains and stuff, were born outside, and you've accepted them and embraced their ideas and their talent. Not most home countries do not do that as willingly as you did. Because you did, you got your fruit for it. You gave us that rocky moments. You gave us just a lot of good memories and a lot of good times and a lot of good vibes. I wish you guys, Morocco, the best. I will stand and die on this hill. Had Morocco had their full starting 11, for as much as the French are talking about injuries after the final, once they lost the final, then suddenly Pogba, Benzema, and Kante became very, but we had injuries. If Morocco had their full lineup, they would have easily beaten the French team in the semifinal. I genuinely believe that. Please just find the striker, because that number 21, the chunky boy, it feels like Emil Heskey has personally trained him, and that's not necessarily a good thing. Plus Morocco 2022 World Cup team. Assalamu alaikum.
All right. Happy New Year, guys. We're going to take a break for a couple of weeks. We'll see you back in January. We'll be back in January. So Happy New Year, everybody, and have a good one. And thanks for putting up with us. We love y'all.
Bye, everybody.
Peace.
Peace.